3 down. I've always been interested in the paranormal. I believe in it, but I also feel like the average person thinks every bump in the night is paranormal, and I consider myself to be somewhat skeptical and scientific among believers. True paranormal experiences are far rarer than people will admit. One night, I was up late and looking for things to do, and ended up on a random Craigslist ad for a volunteer paranormal investigator in a local group. I emailed, thinking I'd probably never hear back, but ended up getting a response, eventually did a practice investigation with this relatively young group, and was invited to be the science officer of the team. Over the year I participated, we did a lot of investigations, but anything my colleagues got excited for, I could always scientifically or logically explain as unlikely to be paranormal, despite the others' arguments and protests. In my town, there is a park that was once a graveyard for the pioneers and key people when the town was young. In the 1970s, the city decided that they would relocate the tombstones and turn the graveyard into a park, as everyone in that graveyard had been gone over 100 years and were no longer visited. Apparently none of the bodies were moved, and in a quiet corner of the park, there does still stand a beautiful row of gravestones. For all the reasons you can imagine, some of them may even be true, the park has a lot of lore about various hauntings. One night, we were doing a fun practice investigation in this park. We had walkie-talkies, and the boys, young men around 25 years old at the time, decided to split off from the girls, all of us young women around the same age. We girls investigated the parking lot, which was supposedly where various clergy had been buried, and the boys investigated in a canyon at the back, between the gravestones and the busier street. As we were asking questions into our recorder, we were slightly startled by the walkie going off, and the voice of the team leader excitedly telling us to come to the canyon, quick! Without asking any questions, the 3 of us women began to walk quickly to the opposite side of the park, toward the canyon. As we were about 2/3 RDs of the way across the park, I felt a punch in my gut that left me breathless. At the exact same time, one of the other women fell to the ground and the third also stopped and doubled over. I asked if the girl who fell on the ground was okay. She said she felt like something pushed her. I shared that I felt like someone punched me in the gut and knocked the wind out of me, and the third girl said she felt the same as me. The other 2 girls felt like something was trying to keep us from the boys, and were scared to keep going, but I wasn't having it. I wanted to make sure the boys were okay. I convinced the girls to continue, and when we got to the canyon, the boys were fine. They were just getting some good voice recordings and wanted us to share in the experience. We told them what had happened, and the boys seemed uncharacteristically unconcerned. That was probably Elmer, a name that showed up on one of the gravestones, and was purported to belong to a man who wasn't very kind to women. We got some really clear responses in a female-sounding vocal tone on the recordings from the canyon that night, and nothing at all from the parking lot recordings. I could somewhat be skeptical of the question and answer session recordings because there is car noise, etc. from a busier nearby street, and locals walk dogs and hang out on the playsets when they can't sleep at night. So there is added noise that could be construed as voices if you really wanted to explain it away. The 3-in-1 takedown of US girls is still, to this day, the only experience I can't explain away in the entire year I was involved in that group.